Thank you very much. Thank you. Today's lecture is anti-phospholipid antibody syndrome. Am I clear? Clearly, you can hear me. Okay, this is anti-phospholipid antibody syndrome. And this syndrome, although in your book, Robbins, there are 2 pages about this topic. This topic is related to thrombosis, but we will discuss what this syndrome is and how does it develop. APS stands for antiphospholipid syndrome. This is an autoimmune disorder which is characterized by arterial and venous thrombosis. So it's if this occurs in pregnancy, the outcomes of pregnancy are very lethal, and this is lethal for both mother and fetus. There are raised levels of anti-phospholipid antibodies. APL stands for anti-phospholipid antibodies. As the name is indicating, you know that most of the cell membranes in our body, they are made up of phospholipids. So anti-phospholipids means that they are making antibodies against that membrane. And when that membrane is not formed, you know the structure will not be formed. The living unit of the cell will be disturbed, and living unit of the body is cells. So cell will not be developed normally, and there is disruption of the normal building of the structures. The synonyms which are used for this topic are the immune system produces abnormal blood proteins. They are called anti-phospholipid antibodies, and these all antibodies, they are protein in nature, you know. And lupus anticoagulant syndrome, this is also called lupus anticoagulant syndrome. And this is a synonym, and it can be confusing because patients with antiphospholipid syndrome, they may not necessarily have SLE, because SLE is systemic lupus erythematosus. So when lupus anticoagulant syndrome, we call it lupus anticoagulant syndrome, it means that the patient might be having SLE, but although that is not having SLE, that is having APS, antiphospholipid. So lupus anticoagulant, L stands for lupus anticoagulant. This is associated with thrombotic rather than hemorrhagic complications. So many small thrombi are formed inside the arteries and veins, and these thrombi, they travel inside these areas, and one place comes where they cause obstruction and restriction in the flow of normal blood through the vessel. This APS is also called anti-cardiolipin antibody syndrome. So the synonym for APS are APS, lupus anticoagulant syndrome, and anti-cardiolipin antibody syndrome. These 3 are one and the same things. So if you get in your paper lupus anticoagulant syndrome, you should know that this is APS. If you get anti-cardiolipin antibody syndrome, do not get confused. This is the same APS. So these 3 names are given to the one syndrome. Got it? So this is also called sticky blood syndrome, because people in this condition, they are more likely to form clots in their blood vessels. This is also called Huggies syndrome. So these are 5 names which are given to one syndrome. Huggies syndrome, this name is given after the name of who discovered it, Dr. Graham Huggies. They discovered this disease in 83 to 85. So this is given the name Huggies syndrome. So there are 5 names for this antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. They were let's talk about something about the history. From where does this name come? So these antiphospholipid antibodies were first noted in a group of people who had positive tests for syphilis without the signs of infection. So false positive test, they got false positive test. They do not had syphilis, but their syphilitic test was positive. So it was then noticed that some of these individuals, they develop SLE or other rheumatic conditions. Rheumatic conditions mean they develop other conditions for the joints. So this later the studies they found there is a protein which is named lupus anticoagulant in a number of individuals with SLE. They provided further understanding of APS, including the testing of anti-cardiolipin antibodies. So I told you there are 5 names, they are given to the same disease. So they were founding as they are named after the name of the people who discovered these antibodies. So they found different types of antibodies and they called it the same disease. So this disease is found in 1 to 5% of healthy individuals having antiphospholipid antibodies. Incidence of this disease is about 5 cases per 100,000 persons per year. So 50% of these cases are not associated with another rheumatic disease. This is primary antiphospholipid. PAPS stand for primary antiphospholipid syndrome. Then APL antibodies, they are found in 30 to 40% of the patients. Different antibodies, they have different percentage in different people. So the people having SLE, they were found to have 30 to 40% of these antibodies. The primary antibody antiphospholipid syndrome, 50% of the cases were found, and in some individuals which have antiphospholipid antibodies, they were 1 to 5%. So this is the total distribution of this disease, how it occurs in the population. So APS is the cause of, so APS cause many events in the body. 14% of these patients having this antibodies, they develop strokes. 11% of the people, they develop myocardial infarction. 10% of the people, they develop deep vein thrombosis. 6% of the pregnancy, 6% of the individuals, they have, ladies have pregnancy morbidity, and 9% of the pregnant female, they lost their child. So this is the percentage of the mortality in the individuals having APS. So the more catastrophic effect of this syndrome, 50% of the people, they have multi-organ infarctions over a period of days. Then female are more predominant for these antibodies, and they develop secondary APS syndrome. And middle-aged female are more prone to develop this disease as compared to the younger and older one. So this is the epidemiology of the disease. So the diagnostic criteria, how we diagnose this case, is Sapporo criteria. It means these individuals, they have at least one of the clinical criteria and one of the laboratory criteria. So the clinical sign and symptoms, this is not necessary that every patient have all the clinical sign and symptoms and all the labs abnormality. If the individual is having one of the clinical symptom and one of the lab criteria, this he or she is labeled as APS. Let's see what is the clinical criteria. Number 1 is there is vascular thrombosis. This vascular thrombosis, this is found in one or more of the arterial venous or small vessels, and the small thrombi, they are formed in the arteries or the venous system. Then in pregnancy, 3 or more unexplained spontaneous abortion before 10th week of gestation, may occur where anatomical, hormonal, or chromosomal causes have been excluded. There is no hormonal abnormality, no chromosomal abnormality, and no anatomical abnormality. But these people, they fail to conceive till the end of their pregnancy. At least one unexplained death of a morphologically normal fetus at or after the 10th week of gestation may occur. At least one preterm birth of a morphologically normal neonate before 34 weeks of gestation due to eclampsia, severe preeclampsia, or placental insufficiency. Eclampsia is in which the blood pressure goes beyond normal limits, and when there is high blood pressure, there is vascular spasm. Placenta do not get sufficient blood supply, and the fetus may die due to inappropriate blood supply. These were the clinical criteria. Now we talk about the laboratory criteria. Number one is lupus anticoagulant antibody is positive, or anticardiolipin antibody is present in the serum, either in the medium or high titer, and or there is number three is anti-beta-2 glycoprotein 1 antibody in the serum is present. All should be present on 2 or more occasions. If you have, if you get the lab report once, so people try to take their second opinion and they get their test done by another lab. So if you found any of these antibodies in the serum of the patient more than one time, at least 12 weeks apart, so this case is called positive case for APS. So one clinical criteria and one lab criteria is important. So this is one of the international consensus statement on revised criteria for classification of the antiphospholipid syndrome. So they have told that clinical criteria is number one, vascular thrombosis. Number two is pregnancy morbidity. In the lab criteria, they found anticardiolipin of 1 IgG and IgM isotype in the serum or plasma is present, or lupus anticoagulant in the serum is detected, or anti-beta-2 GPI antibody of IgG or IgM. IgG and IgM, you know, these are the antibodies which are formed. IgM is the very first antibody which is formed in the blood after any sort of infection, and IgG later comes. So these are the antibodies which are found against these substances in the blood. So diagnostic clues, but not as classification criteria. We know the classification, we know that in the classification we get one clinical criteria and one lab criteria. So these are the diagnostic signs and symptoms. Now on physical examination, and when you go into the detail of the patient further test, you will find cardiac valve disease, livedo reticularis. Livedo reticularis is the abnormal pigmentation on the skin, hemorrhagic pigmentation. This is a network sort of design of the blood vessels, which is obviously abnormal. This is found on the skin of the people. Thrombocytopenia, renal thrombotic microangiopathy, neurological manifestations, especially chorea. So chorea, you might have heard this word in your book. So renal thrombotic microangiopathy, and wherever this thrombosis occurs and this abnormality is found, that area is gone. So this is their name are given after the involvement of the viscera or area involved. Pathophysiology, is the hemostatic regulation of blood coagulation is altered. You know, when the liver is involved in forming the bleed, bleeding factors, clotting factors, liver is the main organ for the formation of all the these factors. So when there is disturbance in the liver, there is disturbance in the blood flow, and these factors are not being properly supplied to that area, or there is biochemical changes in the blood. So there is blood coagulation. Phospholipids are an integral part of platelet and endothelial cell surface membrane. It is expected that these antibodies have effect on them. So endothelial lining, you know, blood vessels, they have endothelial lining. There is smooth muscle, and platelets, they play an important role. And once the thrombosis is formed inside the vessel, the normal mechanism is the thrombolysis. There is breakdown of that thrombus part of the area. But if this thrombolysis is not taken place due to any other abnormality, either the abnormality lies in the liver or in some part, or these immune system. So the normal mechanism fails to meet the normal function. This is very briefly described pathophysiology. You know, APL antibodies, antiphospholipid antibodies, they are formed and their impact is on platelets. They activate platelet aggregation, coagulation cascade. They inhibit protein C, protein S, thrombomodulin, antithrombin C, and fibrinolysin. So these are inhibited, coagulation cascade is disturbed. These proteins are not being formed. Then endothelial cells, they increase the tissue factor. There is adhesion of the molecules and pro-inflammatory cytokines. You know, when the platelet aggregate at the site of injury, whenever there is an injury in the vessel or endothelial lining or any other area, first of all, the white blood cells, they accumulate at the site of injury, you know, at the site of inflammation. Platelets aggregate, they release chemical mediators, cytokines, and many other factors. Same thing happens when it happens in the placental tissue. It decreases the thromboplastic cell growth, and there is increased apoptosis. So this is the pathophysiology of APS. You got it? Please tell me, class, give me a response. Are you clear about the pathophysiology? Okay. This is the diagrammatic representation of the pathophysiology. You can see that there is inhibition of all these things. The arrows are indicating the disturbance which is taking place. There is endothelial cell activation, platelet activation aggregation, T cell immune responses, pro-inflammatory cytokines, there is coagulation, anti-lamin B1 antibody, they exert their protective effect, and this is also inhibited. And these are the antibodies, antiphospholipid binding antibodies to the beta-2 glycoprotein, prothrombin, protein S. As I told you, there is inhibition of all these things. So similarly, there is inhibition of this thing. There is inhibition of this area. Putative second hit trauma infection, these are the factors which are responsible for this forest stimulation. So this is how the coagulation is started, and pro-inflammatory cytokines, T cell immune response, endothelial cells, everything is disturbed. So when everything is disturbed, there is no normal mechanism of action of anything. So coagulation starts, and when the few factors are inhibited, inflammatory cytokines, they are not being formed by the mediators. So coagulation start, and this there is no fibrinolysis. So this area get start damaging. In pregnancy, you see this is this image is showing phospholipid molecule, and this is cytotrophoblast. So normally it would happen that these phospholipid, they are binding these cytotrophoblastic cells to each other. So in APS, what happens? They are not binding to each other. So what happens? There is placental failure. Placenta is not being formed normally. There is D-shaping of the placenta. These antibodies, they are bind to the phospholipid molecule. These phospholipid molecule, actually they are acting as a glue-like structure. They act as a glue to join these cytotrophoblastic cells to each other. So a placenta is formed. You know the normal structure of the placenta is cytotrophoblast and cytotrophoblast. So when these structures are not normally formed, what happens? There is failure, placental failure. And when placenta is not formed, fetus will not get the nutrition and he will die. Classification of the APS is primary and secondary. In primary APS, it occurs in patient without the evidence of any associated disease. So in primary cases, the cause is not known. So without association of any disease, he might get the one of the lab criteria positive. There is formation of antibodies. And in secondary APS, this is associated, there is always association with some disease like SLE, rheumatic disease, or some other autoimmune diseases. So in primary, cause is not known. In secondary, we know the cause, and the cause most common is SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, or some other autoimmune disease. It has another form, catastrophic form. This is a rapidly progressive lethal form of primary antiphospholipid syndrome with widespread vascular occlusion. The vessel, medium size or small cell vessels or arteries are involved. So if it occurs in multiple organs, there is multiple organ failure in few days, and mortality rate is 50%, which is quite high. 50% is quite high rate. So this is the catastrophic form. Seronegative APS, the clinical picture is highly suggestive of APS, while the lab tests fail to detect lupus anticoagulant or anti-cardiolipin antibodies. These cases should be APS with other antiphospholipid antibodies which are not included in the criteria. For example, anti-cardiolipin IgA or other antiphospholipid antibodies. It means these tests may not be positive in some of the cases. And that is seronegative APS. And the patient might be having clinical criteria but not the lab criteria. As we read previously that there must be one clinical and one lab criteria. But in this case, seronegative, clinical criteria will be there, but lab criteria will not be there. So this is also possible that during the acute event of thrombosis, antiphospholipids cannot be detected because they are consumed in the blood clot. Because the clot is being formed, and the clot takes so many things, that clot eats up so many things. So when these things, they disappear from the rest of the area because the clot is getting bigger and that clot is consuming everything which is coming in its contact. So repeated measurement of these antibodies, when we go on repeating the serum of the patient for these antibodies, so several weeks later, one might find these antibodies. But actually these are seronegative APS. So we talked about primary APS, secondary APS. Number 3 was catastrophic APS. Number 4 is seronegative APS. So this is the fourth type. So these were the types of APS. And in primary APS, we talked that there is no known reason. In secondary APS, one always have SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, or any other autoimmune disease. In catastrophic, we talked about there is disruption of so many things, and in seronegative, antibodies are not found in the serum. Now, the disorders which are associated with secondary APS, as I told you, there is always an underlying autoimmune disease. The list of autoimmune diseases is SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, systemic sclerosis, Behçet's disease, temporal arthritis, Sjogren syndrome, and psoriatic arthropathy. These are the list of autoimmune diseases which might be present in the patient with APS. Other clinical associations are infections. The patient may have infection like HIV, hepatitis C, syphilis, malaria, then malignant lymphomas, drug exposure, patient on taking phenothiazine, phenytoin, hydralazine, they might be having this disease. Autoimmune thrombocytopenia, because these drugs, they load the immunity. That is why these, obviously every antibiotic, all the antibiotics, any sort of drug which you are taking, it affects your immune system. So autoimmune thrombocytopenia, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, sickle cell anemia, these are the clinical manifestations in the patient. So these might also be present. But we know that in secondary APS, we have a number of lists for the autoimmune diseases. And other diseases which are linked with the secondary APS might be these. This is the list of other infections which are associated with secondary. So how the patient will present? On the skin lesion, we will see livedo reticularis. This is most common. There are splinter hemorrhages, leg ulcers, superficial thrombophlebitis. Itis, I told you, this is the inflammation. Itis stands for inflammation. Thrombophlebitis means there is inflammation of the vessels, superficial vessels. Then vasculitis. In neurological defects, the patient might have migraine, headache, seizure, dementia. Dementia is forgetfulness. Then cardiac abnormalities, there is myocardial infarction, cardiac valve vegetation. These vegetations, they are checked on echocardiogram. Then on if the blood is, their blood is checked in the lab. So in the blood abnormalities, the patient might be having thrombocytopenia, hemolytic anemia. If it involves the kidneys, so there is renal abnormalities, hypertension, protein urea due to thrombotic microangiopathy. Then catastrophic antiphospholipid syndrome. This is a serious condition and this is often lethal. You know, when organs are involved, so this will lead to damage of that organ. This is livedo reticularis. I told you this is a clinical manifestation. There is involvement of the skin. You can see this network of the vessels, superficial vessels. These are making abnormal sort of skin presentation. This is another patient. This is another picture showing you the livedo reticularis. Patient can be recognized at once by just looking, taking a physical examination. This is splinter hemorrhages. These are the splinter hemorrhages on the nail. This is one of the most clinical manifestation of the patient. This is vasculitis. There is inflammation of the small vessels. Blood is not being supplied properly, so the area got blue, hemorrhage, vasculitis. And differential diagnosis, other diseases, you can mix this APS with other diseases is disseminated intravascular coagulation, infective endocarditis, thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura. So these are the DDs of the APS. Younger patients with history of DVT, pulmonary embolism, MI, CVA need to be investigated for APS, particularly if no other risk factors for thrombosis are present. So these should be investigated. So just a brief, although this management is not involved in your in your exam, but just for your information, we must take a look on the management. How do we manage the APS patient? So there are some general rules and some systemic rules. General rules are treatment for APS must be according to the patient clinical condition and history of the thrombotic event. Asymptomatic individuals with positive blood test, there is no specific treatment until and unless the patient complains of any clinical finding. Then for prophylaxis, there is we should eliminate the risk factors like oral contraceptives, smoking, treatment of hypertension must be done. If there is hyperlipidemia, lipid drugs, they are provided the patient. Then prophylaxis is needed during surgery or hospitalization or patients with autoimmune disease. Then if the patient has the tendency of thrombosis, so low dose aspirin is widely advised as a prophylaxis. And the effectiveness of low dose aspirin as primary prevention of APS remains unproven, but this is beneficial for those cases in which the liver function test, they are not normal, the bleeding time, clotting time is prolonged. So these tablets are given in small doses. In patient with SLE, consider hydroxychloroquine, which have intrinsic thrombotic properties. So hydroxychloroquine, this is also nowadays also being used in the coronavirus, but this and in case of thrombosis, anticoagulation must be done. It should be IV or subcutaneous heparin, which is followed by warfarin therapy. And INR, you know INR, this is 2 to 3 for venous thrombosis and 3 for arterial thrombosis. So INR should be within this range. And patient with recurrent thrombotic events, they require INR of 3 to 4. This is the reading of the INR. Severe refractive cases, combination of warfarin and aspirin is given, and treatment of these patients is lifelong. Rituximab is another drug which is given for recurrent thrombosis, and this has some effects on these patients. Then in pregnancy, this is TTT stands for this is the therapy for antiplatelet therapy, and this is low dose aspirin. These are given to the asymptomatic patients, and less than 10 weeks it should be started. No, less than 10 weeks there is no need for this treatment, but if it extends beyond 10 weeks, then this treatment is low dose aspirin is started. And for catastrophic APS, there is hospitalization, anticoagulation, plasmapheresis, intravenous immunoglobulins, corticosteroids, and cyclophosphamide are given. And this is the doses. You do not need to remember their doses. Then there are surgical care. Surgical correction of the DVT is done. This is a common treatment which is done, diet in the diet, warfarin therapy is instituted, and avoid excessive consumption of foods that contain vitamin K. You know, vitamin K is clotting factors. There are certain clotting factors which are dependent on vitamin K. Activities, no specific limitations. Avoid sports with excessive contact if taking warfarin. Limit activity in patients with DVT, because DVT this occurs in lower limb. So the patient prolonged standing is avoided because the leg veins are involved, and instruct the patient to avoid prolonged immobilization. The limb should be moved because prolonged immobilization it also lead to stasis of blood, and there is more chances of formation of thrombosis. So keep on moving your legs. Thank you. This is all about the APS. So any question? We still have 15 minutes. You can ask question. Are you clear about the subject? Any question? Next week we will talk about infarction, and then on 22nd of this month you are going to have test of hemodynamics. This is very important topic. Boys, any question? Who's your CR in the boys and girls? Class, do you have any CR? Class rep. No response? What's the name of your class rep? Please tell me. Who is this? Aisha, are you the class rep? Shaista Bhatti. Shaista Bhatti? Uswa Chima for girls. Okay. And for boys? Uswa Chima for girls and Abdullah Altaf for boys. Okay, thank you. Are you there, Usma? Usma from. Please ask me question. Any difficulty in this topic? Yes, I got it. Uswa Chima is for girls and Abdullah for boys. So do you have any question? Please ask me. You still have 12 minutes. So tell me the types of, what are the types of APS? And tell me the synonyms for APS. What are the synonyms for APS? First tell me, what are the synonyms for APS? Uswa, you write me down. Abdullah, are you there in the class? Abdullah, you will tell me the types of APS, and Uswa, you will tell me the synonyms for APS. Are you writing? Okay, anybody who knows the types of APS? Antiphospholipid syndrome, SLE, what is this? Antiphospholipid syndrome is, what are the synonyms I am asking you? Synonyms are anti-cardiolipin antibody syndrome and anti-lupus anticoagulant syndrome, Hughes syndrome, and there was another one, sticky syndrome. These are the synonyms for APS. And what are the types? Yes, HUDGS. Okay, this is all right. Anila Farooq, good. Shaista Bhatti, you spoke rightly. And tell me the types of APS. Primary, secondary, yes. Catastrophic and seronegative. These are the 5 types. Yes. And what are the autoimmune diseases? What are the diseases involved in secondary APS? Name the autoimmune diseases. Most common one. SLE. Yes. Any other? Sjogren syndrome. Hemolytic anemia, rheumatoid arthritis. These are all the diseases which are involved. And what are the signs and what is the criteria of diagnosing APS? Yes, yes, good. What is the criteria for diagnosing APS? One clinical criteria and one laboratory criteria. One clinical or one laboratory for diagnosing. Lab and clinical. Yes. Yes, good. How will you manage this patient? Management. You could be asked about the management, not the treatment, but management you should know. How will you manage this patient? What is the clinical management? Suppose you're sitting in the hospital and you find that a patient, you suspect about a patient that is having APS. How will you start managing it? Diet, prophylactic therapy. What is prophylactic therapy? What will you advise? You will not directly jump on surgery, but we will advise, avoid taking, yes, eliminate risk factors. If he is already having SLE or this thing, so You will advise about the diet, modification in the lifestyle, um, uh, moderate advice for exercise, and prolonged immobilization is inhibited. Then if you find a surgical case, refer it for surgery, and low dose aspirin is started. These are the, yes, low dose aspirin, yes. And these are the few points which you consider in managing these patients. What else? Next week we will talk about infarction, its definition, types of infarction, their morphology, their pathology, pathophysiology. And after that you will have your test on hemodynamics. So do you have any problem in my topics? You can ask me question. You still have 6 minutes to leave. So any question regarding previous topics? Abdullah is not there in the, Abdullah is not attending this lecture, I think. He did not reply. I'm waiting for Abdullah response. Are you there, Abdullah? Your attendance is 142. Total class, I think 150. 154 is total number of students in your class. So 12 students are missing. They are not attending. Abdullah is not there. Anything else, class? What is livedo reticularis? Livedo reticularis. What is this? Not autoimmune disease. This is one of the symptom of APS. I told you this is skin discoloration. There is hemorrhagic skin discoloration, and yes, and there is network formation on the superficial skin. So it gives a network on the skin. This is of red color, and I showed you the picture how the patient looks like. I can show you again how the patient looks like. So I'll show you the picture of reticularis. This is vasculitis. This is vasculitis. This is splinter hemorrhage. And this is livedo reticularis. You can see this network all over the body. It's very odd looking coloration. Yes, Abdullah, where were you? You just appeared in the scene. You were not there in the lecture. You were not there in the lecture. Abdullah, tell me what is APS? Last question. Last question, that after that we will finish the lecture. नहीं नहीं, only 1 minute left. 1 minute left. Abdullah, please tell me what is APS. This is a question for you. You don't know? Okay, with this we finish the lecture today, and stay blessed, and hope to see you inshallah on next Friday with the topic of infarction. Allah Hafiz. Take